So I think we've gone live, but I don't think we're broadcasting me yet. Maybe just that. Hey, Andrea, can you let whoever's in the kitchen know that we've started in case there's anyone still in there? Thank you. Hello to everyone who is rejoining us and those of you that have stayed around behind. I appreciate that today. Okay. Let's give just a moment for anyone who's still coming to join us. I'll do a little testimony real quick before we get started. I've mentioned it from up front, but about 3 years ago, before COVID hit, um, I had kind of a passion for immigrants and refugees and international students. I knew a couple of engineers I worked with who came over from China and the Middle East to be students at TU, very sharp, smart individuals. They graduated from TU, but they didn't have any family or friends here to celebrate holidays with, to get together and do things with. And so I'd ask them, what are your plans for the holidays? Oh, I'm going to stay in my dorm. Things like that. And so it got me thinking that maybe there's a way that we can reach out to young people that have this situation. And then when we started to have lockdowns, and all of those international students who came here for school could not return home and had nowhere to go. So there was some folks that I know who reached out and took in some of these international students to their homes. Some of the former students who graduated and who knew some of them took them into their homes and started this process of, supporting people. And Pastor Griswold kind of got me really inspired by this from the work he was doing in Houston with the different people groups that were moving to Houston. And I just thought, well, we could do something like that here because as far as I knew, there was nothing here. So when he came and visited, I decided that I wanted to try to start something here, and we called it Iris. I had to give it a name because it didn't have one. It was just random. I call it one thing one day and one thing another day. But IRIS stands for Immigrants, Refugees, International Students. It's got a good sounding name. It's easy to say. It's easy to remember. Well, when COVID hit, everything kind of got put on hold. We lost some families that moved away because jobs became scarce, and outreach became impossible pretty much in that sense. But now that things have changed, not that the pandemic is gone away, but a situation has arisen where some of these folks that we couldn't reach because of their location have been brought here to the United States. Literally, our neighbors from around the world are now next door, right? We have people from Southeast Asia who are here. In fact, the neighborhood just around the corner from my house, every house on both sides of a street are now housed by folks from Burma in that area, every single one of them. We've got neighbors who are from there as well. And so there's an opportunity to reach out to some of these people group who we could never go see because we couldn't go there. And then most recently, after the war in Afghanistan that wrapped up, and the humanitarian crisis that was there, the United States stepping in and taking care of many of those people that worked with us when we were there. There's other countries that are helping as well, but the United States started bringing in lots of these refugees to our country, but we had no support structure for that type of process, at least nothing that was on this scale. So many different organizations in different states stepped in and said we can help, and they started working with the government to get certified to be able to do this program that they were putting in place and stand up this support group. And Tulsa managed to Oklahoma got approved for a certain amount of refugees, and Tulsa got approved to support that effort. So if you haven't seen the news articles, Tulsa got approved for about 800 individuals, which is about 300 to 400 family groups. Some of the families have many, many children, 4 or 5 children, 6, 7, 8 children sometimes. Maybe not all of their own children. They may be nieces and nephews, but there's a need to find a way to help them integrate into the Tulsa way of life, the Tulsa area way of life. I've never had this kind of a situation where I had to figure out how to live in a new place that I didn't speak the language. I didn't know where to shop. I didn't know where to go to worship. I didn't know how to speak the language. It just becomes super difficult. Some of the people in this room might have dealt with some of the similar situations, either through mission trips where you were going and trying to do work in a place, or you came to the country here and it was all new and different. I can only imagine someone coming from a rural village in Afghanistan where your house is made out of mud. All your streets are dirt. People ride animals to and from, and maybe there's some vehicles, but they look like they've been through a war because they have. You got to be careful where you go because there's military debris remaining that can injure you. To a country like this where by and large the streets are all paved, the cars are very nice, there's a quick trip on every corner, there's a church on every other corner. It's a totally different environment, right? Culture shock to the extreme. How do you educate your children? What schools do you take them to? So all of these things are questions that need to be addressed and issues that need to be addressed for these families that are coming. And in Tulsa, the Catholic Charities, interesting enough from our discussion today, the Catholic charity system, the people that make up this program are very nice people. I've met many of them. It's not just the Catholic Church that's doing this, though, in the Catholic Charities. There are Methodists, Baptists, Lutherans, non-denominationals that are all getting involved, stepping in to help this program. As far as I know, and I haven't asked, but I have not seen or heard another Adventist group stepping in and helping, and that makes me very sad. So we have an opportunity as a church, as individuals, as a group, to participate in this program. What it's called is this Afghan hospitality team. So they have come to the United States. They have been on a military base where they began their process of assimilation. How many people do you have? Make sure you have all your vaccinations or shots, because literally, like, our children, most of them or many of them have gotten shots when they went to school. DTaP, et cetera, polio. Well, not so much anymore, but yeah. So they get vaccinated. They do all that for the children. They make sure the parents are okay, that they don't have some underlying health issues that need to be addressed. And once they leave the military bases, after they've passed that checkpoint, they do background checks and all that. They do, although most people will say they don't. They do. Then they send them to a city. They take them to an airport, they put them on an airplane, and they send them to a city. And when they get off the airplane, they walk down in Tulsa, if you've been to our airport. When they leave the gate, well, like the secure zone, and they come through, there's a table waiting for them of people who welcome them. They know who they are, they know what they look like, they know how many family members, so they know they get the right people, and they welcome them to Tulsa. And then they take them to a hotel. And they may stay in that hotel for a month. I've lived in a hotel for a couple weeks as a family. It wasn't that fun. So they get them out of there as quickly as they can when they can find housing. Housing is very difficult to find in Tulsa. So when they find it, they jump on it quickly and get the families out of the hotel into an apartment or a home, a house. There are some houses that they've been able to get larger families into. And so the purpose of this hospitality program is to come alongside these families under the guidance initially of the Catholic Charities, because they have been approved by the government, that they have enough resources, they have all their people have gone through the right training, because they actually provide caseworkers who work directly with government agencies to help them with some things, and I'll get to those here in a moment. Come along the Catholic Charities organization initially, and then those caseworkers, and assist these people as they transition to living here in Tulsa or the surrounding area. It's not just Tulsa, it's also Owasso, Jenks, Sand Springs. I mean, wherever they can find housing, they have to put them, because it's hard to find housing in the area now. So this is what the group looks like. And wow, I get cut off too, Alfonso. My screen doesn't look like that screen. If you're watching online and you have questions, please post them in the chat, and then maybe Alfonso or someone can read them to me if they come up. Okay, so you all can see it. So basically what it is, on the top, see on this right-hand side, what they call this organization team coordinator, that would be me. I've been to a couple meetings. I've sat through a little bit of the training. I've gone and set up an apartment. This is me now. It doesn't have to be me. It could be any one of you if you feel burdened to step in and be this person. And then the top left is what they call a hospitality team core couple. The reason they set it up like this primarily is the families are coming. And if you know anything about Muslim customs, the women don't mingle with men who are not family separately. Like if their husband is gone, their male relative is not there, they won't talk to you. And so we want a hospitality team core couple if we're choosing to adopt a family. Now, we as a church don't have to pick a family. We could pick a single individual, whether male or female, like I mentioned. We could choose to go that route. Depending on our level of engagement, kind of determines how we step into this program. But then underneath that is what we call this hospitality team members. And these are a group of 4 to 6 people who work directly with the hospitality team core couple to meet with the family. You become like an extension of their family. For 90 days, we work with the family and the caseworker to get them settled. And I'll go into more details about the 90 days. After 90 days, the caseworkers, Catholic Charities, goes away. And this core couple and these hospitality team members and whatever supporting group we can pull together who wants to be involved, we then take on the process of helping these people continue to grow and thrive in their current place of where they live. It doesn't mean they have to stay where they are. Some of these apartment complexes they're putting them in are pretty rough, according to me. According to them, it may not. It may still be paradise. I don't know what they came from. But I would like some of the folks who live in some of these places to be able to find better housing that then can provide a little more security, safety, things of that nature. Having been there and seen it, that's what I would. So if we got a family that were in that situation, eventually, as they get a job, they get some finances, they get some savings, you look at helping them transition into maybe a home instead of an apartment or something, a duplex. But this is the group that makes up us. Okay? And this is what the whole program looks like, is we have the family itself, the Afghan family. It's very rarely just 4. Then you have this hospitality team that provides what they call supplemental services. And then you have the caseworker who provides the core services, works with the government agencies, helps get them the finances and health care, and gets them into an apartment or a home first. So this is what we would call this wraparound care. They do start to get a job. Will begin to learn English. They'll begin to start to live in this society through their own efforts. Our group would support them through that, and then the caseworker would also be there to help for a time. So phase 1 is basically the organization engagement. And what we're doing today is this phase 1. We are identifying a hospitality team coordinator, which, because I'm kind of stepping into this, it is currently me. We want to try to identify groups or classes to form these hospitality teams. And then we also want to identify core families, core couples, or core individuals. Here's where things get a little different depending on our situation. There are single men in this group that are here. Not our group, but the Afghan refugees. There are single men. There are single women with families, with children. So we could take on a men's group, a group of our men could take on a man, a single individual, and help him. Our women could take on a woman with children. Or we as a group could take on a family. But they want to have this system of the core family, the core couple, and that initial immediate group, 4 to 6 people. They want to have that in place for a family. They don't want to have, like I said, and they won't introduce us to a family if we don't have a core couple, because of the social issues with their society, their culture. So depending on what we pull together, will determine on what type of level of engagement we can be involved in. And then out of the group, this is the entire church, not just us here today. We would begin to recruit and form these hospitality groups and peoples that, group. It says initially groups of 5 to 6. That's this group here. But then the supporting group and class, you want to build it out to be a larger group, so that they begin to meet us all. Right? There's a trust issue here a little bit that we need to remember and take into account, that they're very family oriented, but on the other hand, they're very wary. And so you want to build a very strong level of trust. So they initially start when the organization introduces a group to a family, it's just 3 people. It's the um, the core person and the core couple. That's it initially. To develop that, these are the 3 people you're going to talk to most often, right? If you have an issue with your Wi-Fi and you're trying to call AT&T and they can't speak Pashto or Dari, then you call these 3 people and they will help you, right? If the three of them, me and the other 2, can't get it done for whatever reason, then we would call one of these other people and say, hey, so-and-so is trying to get their AT&T Wi-Fi fixed. It's near your home. Can you swing by or make the phone call for them on their behalf, things of that nature. Eric? No. The question was, is there an interpreter available for every one of these? And the answer, unfortunately, is no. There are some interpreters for some activities. You can request an interpreter, and if there's one available, they'll come help. But what they said is, what some of the other groups have done is, there's an app on your phone, a couple apps that you can set up that'll translate English to Dari, English to Pashto, and then vice versa. We were talking about it at lunch. If it's anything like Google Translate, it'll be close, right? Many of them will speak English, at least one. Many of the men worked with our military, so they do speak English. And then if they have a family, probably the boys do as well. So there's an opportunity then that they do speak English, but we can see. Alfonso, there's a question came in.
There's a question here in the not a question, a comment about it's actually Carla saying that there is an apartment. Let me try to read this. There's an apartment opening upstairs in my apartment building. Fairly inexpensive. It's 1 bedroom, and they are refurbishing all of the floors and everything.
Yeah, so basically what happens with the apartments is the Catholic Charities group will meet with the apartment complex, the owner of the unit, and there has to be an agreement because the government pays for the rent for a period of time. So they've got to set it up that way, right? The security deposits, the background checks they would normally do for a renter, they can't do it for these people. So the government signs the line and says, we'll cover the costs for X amount of time. I don't think it's a full year. I think it's a period of time. I don't know because that's not my side of things. But yeah, so if there are openings, I know the people that are in charge of the whole thing. I work with a guy named Cameron. His wife is actually over all of the Oklahoma Catholic Charities events, and so she is dealing with the people that work in Tulsa directly. Not that I know them and have an in where they're my connection, but I have access to those people. So thank you, Carla, for letting me know. I'll kind of pass that along. So so here's what the hospitality teams and roles do, basically. So you've got the core relational couple. That's the gatekeeper. So much like we have here sometimes when we have new members join, you have someone who kind of comes alongside them. Hey, you're new to the church. I'll greet you at the door when you come. You want to help them feel comfortable. You're kind of the gatekeeper. I'm trying to be delicate. There's occasionally when you need to go grab that person and say, hey, come here, I want to ask you a question. You steer them away from people. That's kind of this. Not everyone will be sensitive to these families. I hate to say it, like I mentioned this morning, we have people in the United States who are not kind to these people, right? Not saying they would be in our church, but we don't know, right? They might be. We might get a visitor, a guest, who says, I want to help. I want to be involved in your program. And we're like, I don't know who you are. I don't know how you would interact with these people. So we don't just let everybody have access to the family. The core relational couple, they're the gatekeepers. They're the people who determine who gets to meet with this family and who doesn't. Because you will know what the family needs. What are their issues? Did they have a really bad something happen to them back there that they need to be protected from whatever, XYZ, right? Maybe it's a mother who lost her husband, and the situation that had happened, she's like, I don't want to talk to men, period. Nope. So then you as the couple or the females would say, no men are going to get introduced to this family until we are comfortable with it, right? So do you kind of understand what I'm saying, how this works? So that's the gatekeepers. You gatekeep, they're like your sister, your brother who just came into town, and you're like, take them under your wing, make sure they only meet the people who are going to help them and be good to them, and make sure that it helps them assimilate. But then the other possible roles that they mention is like communication leads. These are just suggestions. We don't have to do something like this. So communication lead might be someone who is the emailer to the group. Hey, I got contacted by the lead couple, and we need to rally around and provide laundry detergent and soap and whatever, That would be that person. The household needs lead might be like they got a backed up sink. We need to help them figure out how to fix it, or their refrigerator quit, or whatever in their home, their household. Cultural orientation lead, that kind of speaks maybe for itself. I don't know anything about their culture. Someone may want to be like, I want to know. I studied it in college, right? Or I had a friend in college, so I know a little bit about them. They don't eat pork, right? That's one big thing we know about them. We don't either. So there's something there, but where do you shop? Where's the right place to go that you can ensure that their culture is respected? Maybe there are shops in Tulsa that deal directly with food from that region. I don't know. That kind of person would learn and develop that. And then someone who has a vehicle who maybe doesn't work, but could be like, hey, I'm Johnny on the spot. Any time of day, you call me, I'll go pick them up, take them somewhere. That could be something like that. So these are some of the opportunities within this group that people can fill. And then, like these additional people, the group that had, more like the regular rest of the church, they can do a la carte services as needed. Hey, we're going to collect an offering today because their kid needs a uniform for school. And we come up and we talk about it. We collect something through the plate, and then it gets handed off to the family, and they go deliver the money to them. Or if it comes to the board and we need more, then, those are the kind of things that come through the church in general. It's a la carte. It's just kind of one-offs. Yeah, go ahead. Sometimes, yeah. Yeah. I was not told there was one, so I assume there is not. Think about it this way. If a family immigrated from Mexico and moved into 31st and Garnett area, they might have people in the neighborhood who can help them, but by and large, if their children don't speak Spanish, they go to school and don't speak Spanish or don't speak English, right? Yeah, and we'll get to that here in just a second. Yeah. So really, yeah, it's everyone. Yeah. So there are ESL through schools, but these folks could potentially go to school not speaking English initially. Let's go to Eric first, and then we'll come. Arlene, okay, go ahead. Okay. Okay. Yeah, there's not a lot of translators in Tulsa that speak the two languages that are primarily over there. You might find some ex-military who speak some of it, but by TU, I think has a program. Maybe, I don't know. 13 languages. So many of them speak more languages than we do, right? So I feel at a distinct disadvantage, other than they don't speak English. So maybe that's the disadvantage for them. So to answer your question about the language, I don't think there's like a program in every public school where they will welcome in these refugees and then say, here's your ESL class you go to at 2 o'clock. I don't think there's that in our public school system at the moment. Eric, question? Okay. Okay. Okay, phase 2. Once we have identified that, yes, we want to participate in this, because we haven't agreed to this yet. I just told my contact that we're meeting today to have this conversation to see if we can support it. So we haven't agreed to this yet as a church. I can't do it by myself, or I would, but I want you all to be able to have this opportunity and this experience if you choose to. So after we would agree and say, yes, we want to do it, and here's what we think we can, what level of participation we can have, then there's the orientation and the training. And what that means is prior to meeting the family, there's some material to go through. There's some groups and classes. Let's see. I've read this a couple times. For some reason, I'm drawing a blank here. Approved cultural orientation for hospitality teams. So there's an orientation class we go to, or it's online, just to figure out what's their culture like. Many of us may know a lot, but maybe we don't know some of the nuances behind it. So there would be a class, a cultural orientation class, and then they would discuss with us what the caseworker does and doesn't do, and what we would do and what we wouldn't do. Right? We wouldn't, as an example, the caseworker helps them find a job. That's one of their roles. So we wouldn't come in and say, hey, my company's hiring a janitor. And we'd go talk to them and say, hey, I've got an opportunity for you. Come, I'm going to take you to the office tomorrow, and I'm going to introduce you to the manager and get you a job. Right? The caseworker does that. Now, you can tell the caseworker about it, and they might pursue it. But the caseworker manages that because the government wants to know where they are when they get a job initially. So there are some things that has to go through the process to get, what do we do, what do we not do? And the team exists to support the family and the caseworker. Ultimately, it's for the family, but when the caseworker runs into a situation where they need some extra help, that's where we step in. And I'll show you kind of a breakdown of what that looks like here in a minute. Then we would sign this hospitality agreement, and I'll show you what that looks like here at the end as well. Actually, this is it here. So basically, you would agree not to be alone. This is common sense, really. Agree not to be alone with the opposite sex of the family in the home. Agree that you won't be alone with the children unless there's a couple of adults. You will maintain the privacy of the family. You're not going to take pictures of them and post it out on your social media and say, hey, look at so-and-so, right? At least not yet. You agree that you will honor their culture and accept their decisions by the family, not criticize. So literally it's their life. And if you want to help them and they say no, that's their choice, right? So we would respect their family's decisions. You would agree that that our object is to assist them as requested and provide the assistance needed by the family that is not provided by the charity. So we would agree, we would take this on as a church, as a group, to support areas where the Catholic charity and the caseworker could not. And then there's an 1.5-hour training material there that we have to go through that I've got the video on what it is. And then for the first 90 days, we agree that we won't try to convert them to Adventism, right? We would, like I mentioned, we would just need to live it. Show them what Christ's love really looks like in a Christian. Not what they saw in the news, not what they heard on the radio, or what they were told back home by their radicalized uncle, right? Show them what it's really like, because that's where you reach them. That's where you show them what true Christianity is like. Because I can't remember who it was that came and visited us. I think it was from Florida. I think he said he'd talked to a lot of Muslims, and he's like, be ready, because they're going to come to your church. They're looking for true followers of faith, not what you see in the world. And when they learn of Jesus, they're going to come to your church, your Adventist church, because you live it, you believe it, it's part of your life. It's not just something you do on the weekend, one day a week. So, because Muslims, Islam is everything to them. And I've met some that have converted because they saw the beauty of Christ, but literally they pray 5 times a day. There's certain things they don't wear, there's certain things they don't do. It's everything to them. And so we want to show them that Christianity is everything to us, and show them that love that Christ had for us that we can share with them, just through our actions, not through giving them a book. Jose joked, it was kind of funny. He's like, hi, my name is Brad. Here's my friend Jesus, right? We don't want to do that. Maybe that comes later when they ask, tell me about your faith. Then we share.
Can you repeat the question, because people...
The question was, what happens if they ask before the 90 days? If they ask, you answer. That's them seeking. Then you start having that conversation. But we don't start going, hey, we're going to come pick you up for dinner on Thursday afternoon, Thursday evening, and we're going to a prophecy seminar, right? We wouldn't do something like that. Yes. N-
Restate the question.
So the question was, are we responsible for like providing their food for them? You know, like we would go to the grocery store with them and they'd pick their food and we'd pay for it. The answer is no. We would maybe help them find the assistance programs that then they could use, but it's really on them to learn how to survive in Tulsa. Is it you go to the food bank, you go to Aldi with your paycheck you just got and you spend it wisely? Teach them how to be responsible in that sense. But we wouldn't be going to the grocery store every 2 weeks for them to buy them groceries. Now, there may be times when we would want to just treat them, right? It's a special Muslim holiday, and they've got $5 in the bank. Maybe we would support them in a way that showed kindness. But again, we don't do that for them. That's part of the program that the caseworker gets them set up. They use Sooner Care, so their health care is covered. Initially they have government assistance for food stamps, but as they get a job and start earning money, that goes away, right? If they get a job with health insurance, so they go on that insurance. They get enough money, they fall off of the government assisted food stamp stuff. So eventually they're going to be able to stand on their own feet, but they won't be able to do it in 90 days, I guarantee you. It's going to take longer than that. So after the caseworker leaves in 90 days, you know, it's like your cousin's house who just burned down and they moved in next door to you. What do? That's what you're going to kind of help them with initially. So the third phase, after you've gone through the training, we have gone through our background checks. Now, we as a church have our own program that we go through for background checks. It's Adventist driven. We don't go to the Catholic Charities and give our personal information to them. I was going to use a different word, but I'll just use that. To them, we do it internally. And we just provide that to them that says, we passed this class, we've done the background checks, and here's the results. That's what we provide to them, is just the results. Then we begin the process of welcoming the family. So once we're done with phase 1 and 2, they will contact, we'll contact them, I would, and then we would get connected with the caseworker and the family. The first three, so the family, the core couple, and the leader person, those three would meet and greet the family, either like at the hotel or maybe they're already in a place. We would go there and meet them and start to get to know them. Because they've begun to trust this process, the caseworker is there to help them. They begin to have that trust with them. If the caseworker introduces us to the person, then that kind of confers a bit of trust on us, that we're also there to help them. They can trust us. That's kind of how it gets started. And then if they're not already in a home, then they'll move into a home, and then we would then start picking up on these things here. So let me go back one. I'll get there in just a second. So when they move into the home, the caseworker's there, the family's there, the organization coordinator, that's me, and the core cupper, that's somebody from here, right? And then we would at that point identify, are there current situations that we need to help with now that the caseworker or whoever hasn't been able to address? And then that's when we would maybe step in almost immediately. And so here's some of the responsibilities. On the left side is the caseworker. So within the first 2 weeks, they want to find them a job. They want to get them enrolled in English as second language, ESL classes. They want to get them set up in Sooner Care, get them access to their health care. Try to find evidence of some type of transportation, whether it's showing them where the bus routes are, or we have agreed that we will take care of the transportation. They want to get them enrolled in school within the first 30 days. And then get them set up in WIC. I don't know what SSI is. And selective services. So within the first month, get them set up on that. That's their food stamps. Get them a social security card and get them authorized to work in the U.S. And then get all of the disbursements of their Afghan something or other assistance for 90 days. So within 30 to 90 days, they're going to get them a bank account. They're going to find them a job. They'll give them the money the government has set aside for them, kind of get them started. That's all the caseworker does. For us, this is on the right-hand side. We would provide transportation initially. We would help them with things like getting Wi-Fi set up, who to call. In their area, is it AT&T, is it Cox? Do they need hardware? We would help them with that. If there's an emergency, someone fell down the stairs and broke a foot or whatever, where do they go? Urgent care, ER. we would be the ones who could help them with that. Now, we would have to contact the caseworker to let them know because that's part of the process, but we could jump in and help them right away. Food issues, maybe they ran out of milk, or whatever, soy milk or whatever. Household issues, I don't know, their toilet clogged up and they don't know who to call. Plumber, who's that? Do I call the maintenance company for the apartment? We'd help them with that. And then we would try to help them with maybe English until their classes started. So, get your phone out and type in an English phrase and have it translate it to their language and then listen to it. Try to learn a greeting. Hello, something. Alfonso, you have a question from the chat?
Yep. Terry is kind of joined a little bit late. She's
Okay.
asking, she says, I didn't see the very first part. How is the home provided? Rent? Question mark. Who pays it? And for how long?
So the apartment, the home that they're living in is paid for by the government initially. Like I mentioned, Terry, I'm sorry you didn't catch on that. I don't know for how long the government covers the costs of this. We wouldn't take on the burden of housing payments. That's not something we would do. You notice it's not in here. They do get money from the government through those first 90 days, and at the end of the 90 days, they get a lump sum, which helps them with that kind of stuff. Hopefully, they would have gotten a job by then. That's the whole point of finding employment services for them within those, so that they can take on their own rent and their own utilities. We would help them make sure they're doing that wisely. Don't go listen to the salesman that says you need digital television and you need the NFL package and the NBA package because you're going to be bored at home. You're going to want all this stuff. We would be like, no, you really don't, right? Go outside, enjoy nature. Just help them be wise stewards of the money that is given to them so they can have a good start. But the housing is provided by Catholic Charities 100% initially to get them in, and then the government money helps keep them there. Jose? They do have some. Yeah. So the question was, do they have pamphlets or materials in their languages that help them learn English or learn American society? They do have some of that, but a lot of it is in the process of being translated. The need came about relatively quickly, so they have translators working to take what's in English and Spanish now and translate it to Pashto and Dari. I think it's how you. The gap. Yeah. So I've also reached out, this is for later on, I've also reached out to Amazing Facts because they have Bible studies in Pashto, I think. So I'm going to order some of those. Eventually, we can maybe, use those at some point. If they ask, hey, let me show you, I've got this Bible study in your language, and I have the same one in English, and you can help them with that. But exactly, it's there. They do actually have that. So there is an opportunity to maybe introduce them to that kind of stuff. I'll find out more to find out what they actually do have translated in that area. And then, like I mentioned to some of us at lunch, so school preparation, make sure they know that if they have to have uniforms, show them where to go buy it, and maybe buy it for them if we wanted to. School supplies, where's the bus stop? The neighborhood orientation, where you live, here's where the grocery store is, where you can buy these things. And then go with them to the grocery store and say, this on this label, that's pork. Lard means pork. Don't buy that. Help them navigate. Don't buy Jell-O. Don't buy marshmallows, right? There are certain things that you would never think, but we want to educate them, help them to learn. And those little things because you know their culture and some of those sensitivities, steer them away from that. They're like, they actually do care about me, right? Because I would want someone to help me not go buy something at a grocery store that had, animal products in it, especially pigs. Jiffy muffin mix. Do you guys know that Jiffy muffin mix, the regular standard muffin mix, has animal fat in it? I didn't know that until I read the box. I used to eat Jiffy muffin mix as a kid, every week. My mom would make muffins. Now they've got a vegetarian version, but I didn't know they had fat in there. Is it lard? Maybe it's tallow. I can't remember now, but it does have animal fat, which is gross. When I read it, I was like, oh, I've been eating that for years. Andres? Mm-hmm. Yeah. You just want to guide them through the process. The question is, can you show them things that don't say they're vegetarian but actually are vegetarian, right? That was what. Yeah. So you'd show them, here's a version of that product that you can eat because yeah, it doesn't have any animal product in it. Yeah. You know, treat them like a family member or a new convert. Want to develop that relationship. If they've got special appointments, doctors, dentists, schools, and then within Tulsa, because there's so many of them here already, 400. You want to have them find other people from that country. Like the apartments that we set them up in, they're relatively near each other, but none of those families knew that the other family, was there. They didn't tell them, hey, and 14A is another family from your country. They just didn't tell them that because they don't all come at the same time. One week this family gets put in, and then 2 weeks later it's this family, and they may see each other in passing, but if they're not leaving the home because they don't know what to do, where to go, they're not ever going to meet each other. So we could figure out how to get them connected with the Afghan community. Where's the nearest mosque to their home, if they want to, or whatever, right? So that's it doesn't cover everything, but it covers a lot of it. Is that everything? That's it. Yep. There, I think in the very first email that I sent out, I attached one of their little frequently asked question Afghan culture thing. Let me actually pull that up real quick. I've got it here. It's called the Afghan fact sheet. So, Catholic Charities is the primary refugee resettlement agency for Oklahoma and has been asked by the State Department to receive 1,850 Afghan citizens to Oklahoma. We got about 800 of them here. Most all of them have assisted the government in some way, which then endangers their safety at home. And it says here 800 to the Tulsa area and 1,000 to Oklahoma City. So why do we help? This is from Catholic Charities. Every human being has dignity, and we recognize that while these Afghan families will need assistance for a short period of time, we are confident that they will make our community much stronger in the future. They're very family-oriented, right? That's a pretty good thing. If a family is strong, it can make a strong community. And they're asking the Tulsa folks to help out with this. So Oklahoma is receiving the third most refugees in the nation and the most per capita. Only Texas and California are receiving more people. But per capita, Oklahoma's receiving the most. Not sure how or why that happened, but it did. So what they're doing, airport welcome, food, translation services they do have some translators initially on staff, temporary and then long-term housing arrangements, transportation, clothing, furnishing of their apartments with everything they need, case management, assistance with job search, legal aid, school, ESL stuff, assistance with their programs. But this is where they need for volunteers. So some groups, some churches in the area actually had homes, or their members had homes that were either rental homes that were unoccupied or they owned a second home. Never owned two homes, that would be weird. But literally, they have actually taken people and just put them in their homes. If I've got a second home and it's not rented, I bring a family in and they get to live there, and the house gets paid for through the process, through the government. But eventually, maybe they let them live there for free. I don't know, but so that's how it's kind of worked out. Donations of household items, they've got a warehouse full of stuff people in Tulsa have donated. Eventually, they said stop donating, especially don't give us any more beds. We have way more beds than we have people coming. And then, so they weren't accepting clothing at the time, but they're trying to work on that. And if you go on to this cceok.org/refugees, you can actually sign up for email notifications for apartment setup and other stuff. But okay, Dari and Pashto are the two languages primarily spoken. They are Afghan, not Afghani. Afghani is their currency. Halal are behaviors that are good. Haram are behaviors that are bad. They don't drink alcohol, by and large. Halal is good and haram are bad. So if they say something's haram, then that means that it's bad. They won't do it. So pork, gelatin, alcohol, things of that nature. I'll send this out again to everybody, but I sent this out in the very first email that I sent. This was attached. So that's it. It's online. It's a video that I have a copy of it actually. I think we just watched the video together, and then when we were finished, we say, "Yeah, we watched it." And it's a lady from Tennessee who hosted families from Afghanistan for years. So she understands their culture really well, and so she's been a part of this effort in the United States, and she's created this training program. It's an hour and a half long, where she talks about their culture, about the people, what you can and what you shouldn't do, and I haven't watched it all yet, but I've gotten through quite a bit of it. But I think that's part of it. So instead of making you watch it now and have it be something later or that we have to do again, I'll wait and we'll find out what we have to do if we choose to do this. And then we'll let them provide us the official copies of all the documentation. So maybe I sent this form instead. Did I send this one the first time? Oh, you printed it. So I sent this paper first. So I didn't send the other one. I'll send the other one tonight. But basically it talks about, the same kind of things. Halal, haram, the women, their clothing they wear, what it's called, the children, the men, gender separations, that they have lived in a country literally that's been at war for decades, right? After the Russians left, there was a period of time where no one was invading, and then we came. And that's been 21 years. So 20 years, yeah. So some of these young men who are here are in their teens. They've never known anything else. Dogs are considered as unclean, so they want to wash their hands if you have a dog. And I was like, oh, we have a dog at home. If you have a dog that, they're not pets probably in their homes. They pray a lot, 5 times a day. They sleep on the floor, which is kind of interesting because when we set up their apartments, everybody got a bed. I hope that works out okay. So yeah, at home, the way they cook is different. And then they have do's and don'ts. Language. Again, this is in the first email, so if you want to read it, go back and see it again. But this kind of gives you an idea of what it's about. Show Christian love. Do play with their kids. So they'll, one of the ladies that I went to that was talking when I went to the last class, she said she went to their home, and immediately when she was welcomed at the door, they handed her the baby. She wasn't even in the house yet, and they handed her the baby. It was a sign of trust. Right? Here, you can hold my child. And then, because they're very family oriented, she said they'll touch your face. Like if you're holding a young child, they'll touch your face because that's just what they do, right? It's a showing of affection. I was like, they'll be pulling my beard probably. But, invite them along for doing things that Americans do. If we go to an air show, invite them along. If we take them to go look at lights down at Rama, I think they're gone now, but, you kind of understand what I'm saying. Invite them out, take them for walks. Turkey Mountain's pretty cool. I found this interesting. In the Afghan culture, it's polite to decline a few times when offered something. If they say no, it might not really mean no. So feel free to continue to offer before they really mean no. Yeah. No, the same thing. Yeah. So if I offer them tea and they're like, no, that's okay. No, really, tea? Here, come sit down, have tea. And then, here, have tea. Here, you want some tea? I guess that's polite. Maybe it's to show that they don't want to take advantage of you and that you are actually willing and you want them to have it, so you keep offering. I don't know. Do refer to your guests as family. I guess after a period of time and they begin to know you, you get adopted. They call you aunt and uncle. It's kind of cool. So there's this opportunity, and that's all the material I currently have to show. But think about this tonight and pray about it. If you want to be involved and you think that that's something that you would be willing to give some time to, I'm willing to take the point and kind of step out and lead it if some family is willing to be the contact. I know I have 3 families here, but I'm talking to all of you online too, that if you're willing and want to help, this is an opportunity to show Jesus' love to strangers in a strange land. Okay, let's pray since we're finished. Father, we have this opportunity before us to work for you, to help our neighbors, to help strangers in a strange land who may not know anything about Christianity except what they've read in the news, what they have seen played out in other parts of the world. Lord, we want to show your true character to people, to those who may never know you, may never see you, but need to know who you are. We are told to take this to every kindred, tongue, and people, and you have brought them here. I pray, Lord, that you would bless each one of us tonight. As we think about this, guide us in your will. We don't want to step outside of your will. If this is not what you want this church to do, Lord, please make it clear. But if it is, please also make that clear. And I ask, Lord, that you bless us in this effort if we choose to go down this path. Thank you again for this Sabbath. In Jesus' name, amen. If you have any more questions, you can ask them now, or you can send me an email. My email's in the bulletin. Thanks. The question was, do we need to bring this up to a vote from the church? I don't know. It's a personal ministries outreach opportunity. We could. It might be funds that we have to expend into wherever that comes from, in which department they would take care of it that way. But I don't know, Alfonso, Bryant, good.
Well, I would say the first step would be to truly ascertain the level of interest.
Yeah.
We are all here because presumably there's some level of interest.
Yeah.
But do we have enough? Do we have enough critical mass to make it happen? And if we determine that we have the level of interest and the critical mass to make it happen, then I would assume that it would need to be a church vote. But the first thing is to determine, is this something we're interested in?
Yeah, definitely need to determine if we're interested.
So I guess follow-up question there would be just with the email, or how exactly would we do that?
So I don't know. I sent an email to the church at large. I think I had almost everybody's email address. Response was not much, but there's more people here than I get responses, so that's good. But I don't know if email is the right way to get the response, but I don't know of any other way, honestly. Is everyone here? No, I won't put you on the spot. I'll let you pray about it. I was going to ask you if everyone here is willing, but I don't want to put you on the spot.
Well, maybe we respond to that email.
Sure.
If it already went out, we respond to that email.
Yeah, that'd be fine. If you're watching online and you're interested, please respond to the email. Let me know. Catherine?
I guess something I wasn't clear on are there many families that out there right now that need people assigned to them?
Yeah,
It's not like just one family is being assigned to us as a church.
Well, there's many opportunities based on how many people we have and who. They would then determine how many families. So if we had 2 or 3 couples, they would give us 3 families because that's what we have. But for us, if we had 2 or 3 couples and that's it, we would say we would have 1 core couple and the other 2 families would be the other supporting group, the hospitality team members. We would focus in because I don't know if I'm still on camera. You got to have the core couple and you got to have the hospitality team members. That's necessary to be effective. The reason I say that is this program has been run by Tulsa United Methodist Church. They're the ones who actually have 6 homes the church owns that they put 6 families in. And so over the several months that they've gone through this program where they put 1 family in and then later they put a second and a third and a fourth, they've ironed this out, and this is the process they use, and they said it works really well. Now, we don't have to do it exactly like this, but you do have to have, before Catholic Charities will give us a family to work with, we have to have the hospitality core couple and the first team members. Right.
Do you know if there's any, shall we say, matching family with family? Okay, for instance, first of all, we wouldn't want to leave anyone out. I agree with that. But at the same time, I would assume that if these people worked with the military, that they all have, shall we say, special skills. Now, maybe some of them are special skills we don't want, or don't want to know about, let's put it that way. But, for instance, back before the major change of regime in Iran was known for their large corps of engineers.
Mm-hmm.
And we have people that have engineering bent, we have software bent, and so forth.
Mm-hmm.
And if there was a family out there that we knew that we had commonalities that, now we don't want to wind up leaving someone out because there's not a commonality, but if there are commonalities, it could be very helpful.
Yeah, that's true.
For their success.
I can bring that up and mention that to them, if we go down that path and we choose to go that route, and you say, hey, our entire core group is full of software engineers, mechanical, civil, a bunch of engineers. Do you have a family who had the husband who was an engineer, maybe he worked with the Army Corps of Engineers or is an engineer himself? And if they say, yeah, sure, hey, we have common ground already. We can at least speak numbers, right? Maybe so. That's a good thought. I really hadn't thought about that. That's something to think about. Alfonso, is there anything else coming in on the chat?
No, just one box that I need to delete.
Okay. Did we have quite a few people join?
Yeah, we peaked at 7.
Okay, that's good.
We have 4 right now.
Praise the Lord.
Yeah.
So
I
at least
know
6.
the Herreras joined.
Oh, good. Okay.
Herrera's all right.
John Tay joined, I think. She's
Tay?
interested. I sent her a text telling her we were speaking. Go ahead. That's right. She sent me an email. Praise the Lord. She said she wasn't feeling well, but she's interested in helping. So.
I guess another thing I missed. How soon does all this get started?
So they
Yesterday.
have like 400 people already in homes here. We haven't gotten all of the people here yet, but they set up 30 homes starting December 27th. They set up 15 homes the day that Stephen and I volunteered, and then January 3rd they did 15 more. And then they've done every day this last week they've set up an apartment for a family. So it's almost every single day they're setting up new apartments for families that they need groups to support and help. Yeah, it's a desperate need, definitely. Yeah. And then if we do it and we get really good at it, maybe we can take on more with the same people. It just kind of depends. I don't know. Anyway, pray about it. Definitely think about it and let me know. If you're watching online, send me an email if you're interested. And if you're here and you're interested, send me an email. I won't put you on the spot.
Already did.
All right. Yeah, I got yours. Thank you. All right. Praise the Lord. Thank you for hanging around. I know it's already after 3, but thanks for staying and listening. Thank you.